Carol, thank you so much for joining us here today. We'll start with your role as president. You've been in the role for about 7 months or so. Is there anything that has surprised you to learn in your time as president so far?
Well, there's quite a few things that really has shocked me. I guess on the slow moving of the government on different. Meanwhile, our women and our families are suffering out there. Like take for instance the housing. The housing and the shelters, it's moving way too slow. In the meantime, our families are living in violent situations, and they need somewhere to go, and that's one of the things that has shocked me. The other thing is how discrimination is still alive and well, and it's horrible. I always thought that we were so lucky living in Canada, but when you still see the prejudices and the discrimination, and there's still a lot of work to do, and those are some of the things that really hit me, and also the healing that has to take place with the decolonization. There's just so much that has to be done in terms of that, and finding our ancestors' bodies, like children, residential school. It just, it just brings me to think on how strong of people we are, that we were able to come out of this. And but now that some of these things have passed, we're still living with the healing part, and that is what we really need right now.
Well, and Carol, in your January President's Report, you had said appointing Jennifer Moore-Rattray to the role of a ministerial special representative, where she'll be tasked with providing recommendations for the creation of an Indigenous and human rights ombudsperson. Now, you said that was a step in the right direction, but you'll be monitoring timelines. What exactly will you be watching for?
Well, I'll definitely be watching for, specific, let's say, infrastructure on how she's going to deal with all the issues that is really outstanding. I figure we're majorly slow at, this appointment of someone, an ombudsman, and this is really, really needed. And, we just gotta let her have a chance to get situated. And then I'm hoping that we see some positive results coming forward, because that, it's just really, really taking too long. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, our like going back to our women and our families, they're suffering.
And Carol, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the situation, the recent situation here in Winnipeg, where 4 Indigenous women were killed, and there's the possibility of a search of a landfill for 2 Indigenous women. I was just wanting to get your thoughts on that situation.
Well, unfortunately, it's a very, very, very sad situation. I met the girls in December at the AFN meeting, and my heart goes out to them. And yes, there's 4 bodies that they found 3. 1 is still to be found. But how many other of our people are missing? And I'm thinking about children. What about the kids that have been buried, and the files are there and they won't give it to us? Like, this really boggles my mind. Like, how can they do that? I mean, they've done enough harm on our people, and then keeping that type of information is just, it doesn't make no sense to me. But going back to these unfortunate families, my goodness, they must be suffering. My heart really, really goes out to them. And, you know, and we will be, you know, and have experienced so much grief. It's like I said, we are strong people.
And Carol, what can maybe be learned by the situation here in Winnipeg, and not only Winnipeg, but across the country with all types of situations like this? What can be learned from that?
Well, for me, it's a lesson that we're not, you know, that there's so much that has happened to our people, and you know, we built, by those experiences, for me, we built a lot of our strength, a lot of knowledge on what has gone on with our people across this country. And it's mind-boggling on some of the horrible stories that you hear across this nation. You would never think that we lived in something so grave, like going back to the missing children. I know, being a mother and a grandmother, I just can't think on how horrible that would be if I didn't know where my grandchild's body was, or what happened to them when they were taken away from us. It's just horrible.
And Carol, there's many things like walks and rallies and movements at all times of the year. Why are things like that so important, and that show support in that way?
Well, number one that I feel is that it brings the story out. It brings what's happening to the public, and so that they can understand and they can help with supporting our people. I think a lot of things have been brought out in the public right now, and I think that awareness is really softening the Canadian citizens across this country to understand how terrible Indigenous people have been treated, and how far we still have to go and that we do have needs right now that needs to be looked at. I know for NWAC, we have the Sisters in Spirits. That is a very powerful October 4th date that we come together with people, our families that have experienced the loss, and we remember the women that have passed on, and also the logo of Sisters Spirit. It means a lot to me, because what is Grandmother Moon. Grandmother Moon is something very, very powerful, and gives us direction and wisdom and the knowledge, to keep on going, and that the family circle is very important, and that we've got to keep that strength up. So I think NWAC has done a great job I think it's in existence for about 19 years now, and I think the numbers of violence against our women has grown. So it's exactly what is needed to bring us together and to support one another.
Well, it's really well said, Carol, and I just wanted to ask about the inquiry as well. So we've had the inquiry. It's a few years removed now. How is the government doing in terms of implementing those recommendations?
Well, as you know, NWAC has provided a report card, two report cards, in fact, one of the Canadian government and one of our own. And by far, NWAC is doing a great job in fulfilling some of the recommendations. The government, not so much, and I'm hoping that picks up, especially with the ombudsman that will hopefully, push these files that definitely needs a pushing at this point.
Mm-hmm. Well, just on that note, Carol, last one for you here. What can be done as we move forward here?
Well, I think what needs to happen is that women and families across this country needs to be listened to. Their voice needs to be heard. And hopefully with this ombudsman, we're going to be able to pass on the voices of our women that are not here, maybe, that are, that have passed on by violence and whatever, and hopefully to bring forward some really strong supports for our people, healing lodges. Our people really need these healing places, and our women that have been incarcerated. That's very alarming. I mean, our people, I think we make up maybe 5% of the total population, but in federal prisons, we're experiencing 50% of that of our women that are being incarcerated. I think a lot of work has to be done there, but it's we have our work cut out for us, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, like you said, Carol, a lot of work certainly needs to be done, and it's something that we will be keeping an eye on as that work happens. We really appreciate the time, and thank you so much for joining us for a few minutes today and sharing your thoughts and insight.
Well, thank you very much for taking the interest in what NWAC is doing. Thank you.